I changed my original plan from refurbishing to stripping off the old finish on this table because I discovered a fine mahogany wood grain by using this product I found called Citrus Strip, and I'll be reviewing that now. First of all, remember to wear protective gloves, goggles, and a mask, because all of these kind of strippers contain harsh chemicals. And I would recommend, if you can, to finish this outside or in an open garage. But if you can't do that, if you can only do it inside, then use plenty of ventilation, such as fans. I've used strippers for years that had harsh chemicals in them. When I was looking for a safer stripper in the hardware store, I found this one, and it says on the front that it is safe to use indoors, has no harsh fumes, and it strips multiple layers, which means you can leave it on for 24 hours and it'll take off multiple layers of paint or finish, varnish, whatever. And it also has a pleasant odor. It's also biodegradable. Let me demonstrate how this works. First, it says you have to shake it. Then you pour some of this into a metal container. And you use a brush and you simply brush it on. Because it's a gel, it'll stay on. And you let it sit for 30 minutes. After waiting at least a half hour, we're ready to scrape off the old finish using a paint scraper, or if you prefer a homemade scraper. And you always want to scrape off with the grain of the wood. I'd recommend using a plastic paint scraper for this, but if you don't have that, you can use a cutout cardboard homemade scraper. So the reason is that you don't want to scratch the surface, and if you use a metal paint scraper, it could scratch the surface, as well as if you use steel wool. So let's try the plastic scraper first on half of this. Okay, that takes off some of it, but not all of it. And you want to wipe this on the newspaper. This is with the cardboard scraper. So I'm going to put another layer on here of stripper and let it work for another half hour. Like I said, this takes time, so be patient with this. This may take several applications of stripper and several scrapings to get down to the wood grain. I just want to show you the progress I've made on this mahogany oval top coffee table. I decided to take off the finish, the old finish, which was darkening the wood. Now you can see that it's red mahogany under there, which could be a veneer. And it also has some scratches on the top of it, which I did not put there, but were there when I got the finish off. So I'm hoping that if I put a clear gloss finish on it at the end, then this will hide it a little bit. But right now what I want to do is stain the legs to match the top color of the red mahogany, and I'm going to be showing you how to do that now. I'm going to be reviewing this Minwax wood finish penetrating stain of red mahogany to match the top, and this is an oil base, so you have to have turpentine in order to thin the brush at the end. You could either use a brush or you can use one of those sponge brushes. You need to find a well ventilated area because this wood finish is not great to breathe. So you either have to go outside, a garage, well ventilated area, use gloves and a mask if you're inside, and also just, eye protection. If you want to test the stain on something on the furniture that doesn't show, so if you look in the middle of the piece here, you can see a dark spot. That's where I tested this stain, and it matches pretty well. Better than doing it on the furniture itself and then having to take it off later. But the first thing after you've taken all the old finish off is to make sure that it's clean and dry. First of all, you want to take steel wool, which is very fine, 0000 grade, and you want to wipe it down and make sure that all of the residue is off of it. After that, you're going to take a clean cloth and just wipe off any excess residue. And now it's ready for the stain. Okay, now it's time to stain. I think it's a good idea to brush it on first. And because it's uneven, you want to take a cloth, a smooth, lint-free cloth, and then rub it by hand. Until you get the right tone. You might have to put more than one coat. Or if you prefer, you can just use the cloth to start with and rub it on. But it's soaking in there really nicely. The wood is very dry. And you should let this dry at least 24 hours before you work with it again. In this review, I'm using Minwax Wipe-On Poly Clear Gloss Finish. You want to make sure that you take a dry cloth and wipe off any lint that might be on the table before you apply the finish, or else it might stick onto the finish. And then get a lint-free cloth and put a little bit of the polyurethane on the table and wipe it down like I will demonstrate. And after it's dry, maybe 2 to 3 hours, you might be able to put another coat on after that, but it should probably dry for at least 24 hours. I like to do circular motions. I'm here with the end result of putting this wipe-on poly on this oval coffee table. As you can see, it has a very shiny, lustrous finish, and it covered all the scratches and marks. I'm really pleased with the results. I do prefer this using the wipe-on poly over the brush-on because it doesn't leave any brush strokes. The only thing you have to be careful with is try to use a lint-free cloth when wiping on the finish, because the little pieces of lint could get in there and into the finish and dry. So make sure it's a lint-free cloth. And I prefer this over the spray finish because it's easier to breathe. You don't have to mask up and all that with those chemicals. But if you're working inside, of course, you should wear masks. Here's a little better view of the legs and the top. I did have to put on several coats of this wipe-on poly in order for it to cover all the scratches. You may not have to put that many coats on, but depends on how damaged it is. Thanks for tuning in.